Hello, everyone. Welcome to Black Kids in Outer Space. Today, we're going to New Jersey, Newark. We're actually we're visiting one of the sons of Newark. We're talking to Derrick Washington. He is one of the founders of Newark Community Cycling Center, and their goal is to have a true, long-lasting kind of like cycling community. We'll go into that more when we talk to you. But you've done so many things. You've worked at Pete Sportorama in Bloomfield as a buyer, a salesperson, a bike repairman. You worked for 9 years at Hino Ski and Cycle in Pequannock, New Jersey, as a biker, as a buyer, salesman, ride leader, repairman. Volunteered for 3 years at the Highland Grand Fondo and at the Pequannock Triathlon. You've taught hand cycling, push to walk. I mean, but you've done a lot of things. You've also written a book, haven't you, on skiing, correct?
No, I've not written a book on skiing. I have friends that have, but in the ski industry, I'm a custom boot fitter.
Okay.
So I work with pro skiers and racers and anyone who has problems with an uncomfortable boot.
Okay. But you've done a lot of things. You're involved in a lot of things in the bike community. You're kind of underground. No one knows. It's like, okay, I know Derrick is everywhere. Anytime there's some kind of bicycling event, Derrick is there. If it's, the Brick City Bikes, which is Newark's bicycling advocacy group, you're there. You're around a lot. And also your pictures and everything is filled with bicycle stuff, ski stuff, outdoor stuff. You're outside right now. Where are you?
I'm in Rockaway, New Jersey. I'm in my backyard. It's a gorgeous day, so I figured take advantage of doing some office work from my yard.
Yes, you are very what do you call it? You're very modest, but you actually do a lot of things, Derrick. So why did before I ask you about the Newark Community Cycling Center, I know that you grew up in Newark. What's the difference between Newark now and Newark when you were growing up?
Uh, uh, so different. Um, I grew up in the Weekway section in Newark.
Oh, that's beautiful. I saw that.
And I remember, playing in Weekway Park back then. They still had the horse trotters, the trotter track and horse racing there. Weekway Park actually had speedboat racing, and you could rent rowboats at the lake. Newark was just a great city to raise a family in and fun during that era. We enjoyed it a lot. I remember roller skating at Twin City, and lots of activities, and unfortunately, a lot of inner cities have gone through very hard times, and Newark is rebounding, and it's a genuine rebound. And, we hope that the rebound is for the whole community and not just for the transplants that I tend to refer to them as coming in and um, taking over the city.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that's really great is that you're from the area, but you got your family's from New Jersey originally, right? Not originally, but you guys have been here a while.
Yes, my family's been in Jersey for a very long time. They moved into New Jersey just prior of World War II.
Okay. That's that is a long time. So I know that um because you guys are starting a bike center, do you think Newark is a bike city?
Newark has strong roots in cycling that a lot of people don't know about. Major Taylor won the world championship in cycling in the Newark Velodrome. In the Vailsburg section of Newark, um, it was a world-class cycling center. The top riders from all over the world would come to Newark to ride. And then there was also bike racing in Weekway Park. And all around northern Jersey were velodromes. And a lot of bike companies had their roots and started in Newark. Newark today, cycling is part of large communities, transportation, to and from work. Newark has a lot of cyclists at many levels who just cycle for just enjoyment. Um, and when I say different levels, I met a group last night that are into single speed fixies and like crip racing,
Mm-hmm.
and which you wouldn't expect to see that crowd in Newark, but it exists in Newark. They want to ride their bikes very fast and race. Newark has just the casual riders who want to ride like beach cruisers and 3-speed bikes and ride their bikes in flip flops.
Mm-hmm.
It has a good BMX crowd, and it's a growing community. It's a disconnected community of cyclists, but it's a growing group. There's the down bottom bike crew in the Ironbound section. That's a youth club that meets on Fridays that ride, and there is a very active bike club. So the future of cycling in Newark is growing, and it can become like how Philly has become, Boston, eastern cities that have just adopted cycling on a huge scale.
Another thing I think is wonderful about Newark is that I do little films about on the street, and every time I do a film, about 4 people ride by me on bicycles. So I mean, the thing is that people kind of have an idea of what a bike town looks like, and I think like so that's kind of one I want to ask you. I know you're not an engineer, but as a person who's an outdoors person, you're out in the wilderness right now, or the forest or the garden. What do you think the biggest barriers for a more multimodal Newark?
I think developing of bike lanes, one of the things we talked about last night was unfortunately, as the city was being redeveloped, the, the old railroad rails
Mm-hmm.
were somehow absorbed into people's property, and
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately did not get turned into like a rail to trail program, which
Mm-hmm.
would open up very easy, accessible commuting lanes through the city. Would love to see that what's like left of any type of rail be converted to trails would be great. Weekway Park, phenomenal place to ride. Branch Brook Park. I think the opening of some more protected bike lanes would be very useful for the city in adapting it for cycling.
Yes, because you have one of the biggest Penn Station, Newark. You can get to almost anywhere in the tri-state area from Penn Station, Newark. So it'd be great if we had other options other than just like walking out or having someone come get us when we are. But the light rail does work. I've used the light rail. I use the light rail to get to Newark Penn Station. So that is working. It's called the Newark light rail.
Yes.
So the thing is that you have kind of roots like in lots of places in New Jersey, even though you were raised in Newark at the Weekway area. Why was it important for you and your friends? I know you're doing this with Bill Feeney and Patrick Colon. Why did you guys feel it's important to do this Newark Community Cycling Center in Newark and maybe not? You could have done it in Bloomfield, or you could have done it in Jersey City, or where you are, Rockaway. Why did you decide to do it in Newark?
Reason Newark, I mean, right now, Newark does not have an existing true bike shop, which is amazing. To have a city as large as that and not have a bike shop somewhere where people can go and just get a simple flat tire fix or buy tubes. And it's setting up a shop that's not just to sell merchandise, but that's involved that, unfortunately the bike exchange closed, and I understand the reasons why. And with any bike business, whether it's Newark or any city, commercial real estate is just so expensive, and the income that bike shops turned in order to supply a staff is isn't feasible. We're fortunate where this summer we're functioning as a pop-up with Smitty's Service Center in Newark. So he's making part of his service station available for us to interact with the community, which is great. Our permanent home is going to be on Rector Street in Newark, which is there's a carriage house there owned by Trinity St. Philip's Cathedral. Mm-hmm. So in their want to be involved in the community and help the community, they've made the carriage house available to us to set up the Newark Community Cycling Center.
That's great, especially to having that community support, kind of like letting people know, like, hey, we're part of the community because, you know, we're here, we're part of Smitty's, I guess you said not bike, but Smitty's service center. So that's, you know, that's going to part of the battle is getting your name out there. So do you guys view yourselves as kind of a precursor? Because I know you guys do a bike swap. You've had the first one, you're doing your second one this weekend?
Yes.
This weekend. I'm going to ask you what a bike swap, what that means exactly. But do you guys view yourself as kind of a precursor to let the city know, like, hey, we need bike share, or no?
We want to get involved in bike share.
Yeah.
It's one of the next things on our table. We know that the city needs to address cycling and accessibility to cycling for the community. Whether, you know, it's even with all the college kids coming in between, you know, Rutgers, NJIT, Seton Hall Law School, the medical school. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of students that are coming into the city, and there's no need for everyone to have a car.
Mm-hmm. I have a question, you know, and it just popped in my head because I know you've worked at different cycling shops and different outdoor shops. Do those shops, you know, people who have a bicycling shop, do they view bike share as competition? I mean, I you know, would they view that as, I don't know, like if I were like a bicycle shop, would I want to have bike share? I mean, they seem to be really into it, but I would just kind of think, wouldn't that be competition?
The way bike share is set up right now, most of the bikes that they're using, as people get into cycling, they want more performance out of the bike.
Okay.
Or a little more comfort. I do know one particular gentleman whose business has been hurt by bike share. He sold used bikes in the city.
Okay.
And so his business has definitely felt the impact of bike share coming into Manhattan.
Okay. Because I'm kind of wondering, like, no one's ever really talked about that. I would think that would be something that more people would discuss. But of course, we have to ask, since you've discussed bike share, and you're with the Brick City Bike Collective, are you guys for docked bikes or dockless bikes? That's controversial. You don't have to answer.
As for the group, I don't know where the group stands.
Mm-hmm.
I personally just started researching the difference between the two because I have a hotel that I'm working with, and we're looking at developing a bike share program for them. And I'm leaning towards dockless because it doesn't restrict the bikes that can be used in the program, because you have certain, even cities where there are hills, and you need a bike with gears to climb hills. And if a bike can't function at the level that you need it to function at, you can't use it. It's not desirable to use.
Okay. So we're going to kind of move on from the retail side. Why do you, I noticed that your organization has a very kind of focus on youth. Do you feel that youth are the answer to getting a more bikeable Newark?
Well, it's part of it. I mean, the youth is riding, and the ideal is to show them that cycling is more than just a sport. It's a way of opening doors for them to travel. Especially since you can take a folding bike and you can ride on a commuter train or public transportation at any time with a traveling bike.
Mm-hmm,
Just
mm-hmm.
fold it up, and you can go places further than you can ride. So I have friends who travel that way. They take their folding bike with them, and they'll take the train, and then once they're in a certain city, they ride their bike, or at their certain point destination, they ride their bike. So one of the things in the future we hope to develop is like a folding bike travel group,
Well, that's really good.
and we want to do like a college tour with folding bikes, and take kids out and hop on a train and go to a certain city and visit the colleges in that city.
I really
Uh,
like that idea.
and it's opening up so that people can step outside of their 3 block neighborhood or whatever the size of their neighborhood and discover the world. And cycling is just a great way to do it. To get on your bike and ride 50 miles in a day at
Yeah.
whatever pace you're going to ride at 10 miles an hour or 7 miles an hour, but get out there and, you know, your, I was saying, discover your backyard. The world is your backyard.
And I think that that's the great thing about the utility, like that idea of taking your bicycle, and going on a trip, is that to a college, it shows that it's a utilitarian item. It's not a recreational item. It's something that you can use to go to work. So that's a great way of showing kids that,
Correct.
and
And
showing adults that too.
I hear so many people saying, well, I can't get there. Well, with a bike, there's no excuse. You takes longer, but you're getting there.
And in places like New York, it doesn't even take longer. It's actually a shorter amount of time if you have a bicycle. I mean, being an Angelino, I drove to the city one time at night on a Saturday.
Oh.
Never again. Took 2 hours. Would have taken like 40 minutes on the train. I thought I was going to save some time. And 2 hours, I'm being generous. The try was like 3 hours.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah. On the East Coast, people in California just don't know. It really is faster on a bike, and you bike public transit connecting, it would be, great. And I really like that idea. So let me know when you guys start doing that college tour with the folding cycles. Let me know. I would really love to be on that tour and be able to get on the ground look of that. Another thing is, you're not an engineer, but if you had a wand, what's like one infrastructure change you would like to see in Newark?
Just the development of better bike lanes, in pedestrian walk areas, um, just making the city more biker friendly.
Yeah, because I think. Go ahead.
So kids can ride. I think in the city of Newark, there's not a need for school buses. Kids can ride their bikes to school, and safe route to school program, and let kids ride their bikes to school. I remember when we moved from Newark, the town that we moved to, some of the kids rode their bikes to school. It was great.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's the thing too, that the East Coast kind of lends itself, because it's, number one, it's not as hilly. So the Weekway is kind of hilly area. That area is kind of hilly, but a lot of it's not as hilly. So it's something that's actually doable. But do you worry about gentrification in Newark? Do you worry about people that you grew up with? The community that's there. Are you worried about it being people being pushed out, and are you worried about the shop being perceived that way?
I do worry about it. It is a concern. I complain constantly to my friends that, when you're paying $35 a square foot and more, how can a small mom and pop business exist?
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up in an era where my great aunts and uncles all owned businesses in Newark or wherever they were, owned businesses, and it can't exist in the nature of how things are right now, and that's a concern. we're like my kids' generation. If they want to start something and grow a business, it's not feasible. I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
it's not for the kindness of Anthony Smith with Smitty's Service Center, we would not be doing our bike swaps. If it wasn't for the um, Trinity St. Philip's opening the door for us to have the carriage house, most of the properties that we looked at, it was not feasible for us to do a startup business. So,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and I'm concerned about, when you have a city where a one bedroom condo is going to be $1,700 a month. Um, that's more than what I paid for my first mortgage on the first house I ever bought.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of money to spend on rent a month.
It is, and that's not even that's not counting New York, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Los Angeles, and San Francisco, where a lot of people would kill for $1,700 rent. But the thing is, I think people have to understand in California, because I know I have a lot of listeners in California. People make a lot less money here. Yes, the high end people who are rich, they make a lot, but the middle in here is a lot lower than the middle in California. So $1,700 to change that in California to like $2,700 or $3,700. It's and especially in Newark, where you have a high unemployment, you have a high African American population. In general, even African Americans that have college degrees, we make about 60-70% what white people make. So you're going to have a lot of challenges with $1,700 condo or $1,700 rent. I'm just kind of like giving people a feeling who are not in the area. They're like, $1,700, I'd kill for that. I'm like, it's everywhere. It's not everywhere. So understand that, people. So another thing is kind of like jumping back to what you guys do. What is Bike Swap? What is that?
The Bike Swap, we set it up so that it's open time for people to discover the community of cycling. So you can, if you have a bike you want to sell, you can bring it over and sell. If you have bike parts you want to sell, you can bring them over and sell. It's an opportunity for the bike clubs to be there and just let people know that they're existing and what they're doing. It's an opportunity for people to drop off bikes for the down bottom bike crew to donate to the kids. It's also set up where we do bike inspections, make sure people are riding safe bikes. Patrick, one of my partners, as time permits, he also does bike repair doing the swap. But it's just basically to let the community know, hey, we're here.
That's actually really good because I actually need my Robin Hood bike. I have a 1947 Robin Hood bike. I was on the historic Renaissance ride and it was making these weird sounds. I'm like, I thought YouTube could help me fix this, but apparently YouTube is not good enough. I'm going to need a little bit more help than that. So I'm going to definitely, I can't come this weekend. As you know, I'm slightly busy, but
Right.
The next one you have, I will definitely be out. So, what would you like to leave our listeners with? What should they know about Newark Community Cycling Center and Newark and New Jersey and the cycling community in general? I know it's a big question, but what would you like to leave us with?
Come out and ride with us. Brick City Bike Collective does have a Strava group sharing rides. A lot of people ride in Branchbrook Park. There's a lot of riding going on. Don't be afraid to just come up to somebody on a bike and say, hi, where do you ride? How do you ride? You want somebody to ride with? It's a friendly community. I mean, I don't hesitate to stop and see somebody on a bike and say hi to them, or stop and help somebody who looks like they're having a problem with a bike. Get out and enjoy riding.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Derrick, for speaking with us and talking to us about Newark Community Cycling Center. And do you guys have a website yet, or no? We
have a Facebook page.
Okay.
Under Newark Community Cycle Center, we go under hashtag NCCC.
Okay.
So NCCC. Hopefully, yesterday we finally decided on our logo, and we'll start pushing the word out more now.
Okay, and I'm also putting that your Twitter account, Bike Newark, New Jersey, which is
Yes.
the Twitter account that you guys have. So if you guys want to reach out to them, again, thank you so much, Derrick, for speaking with me today, and we'll see you in outer space. Everybody, have a good afternoon.
You're
Bye.
welcome. Bye.